Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to In.The.News. Live news and commentary from around the world by your host, Holy Joe Rock and Roll.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy, Holy Joe Rock and Roll, coming at you live and unscripted Monday, 17th of October. Just wanted to get you ready for the third and final general election debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald J. Trump. Coming up on Wednesday, the 19th of October. Well, let's look at the past couple of weeks and let's talk about what we've seen since the second debate, where I think you have to agree that Donald Trump dominated that second debate, really pushing Hillary to the curb, knocking her to the curb on the issues. And his strongest argument, I believe, has been, look, you've been in power for 30 years, 33 decades, and basically have accomplished nothing. Nothing in a positive way, really, if you think about it. And the things that she continues to talk about or claims to be in favor of, she hasn't done anything to accomplish that or even try to accomplish that. So those are strong arguments from Donald Trump against this incumbent, this establishment that's really basically proven to be corrupt. The emails from both WikiLeaks and also the Freedom of Information Act show a Democrat Party that is definitely corrupt. It was biased and corrupt against Bernie Sanders. It has said horrible things against Catholics and evangelicals. It has just talked about needy Hispanics and other really horrendous things that if Donald Trump had said any of these things, the media would be all over it. But instead, what Hillary's team has done is rolled out these accusers accusing Donald Trump of inappropriate touching, right? Groping, and what have you. But at first it sounded pretty bad, coming up on the heels of the audio tape, which they tried to position Trump in a bad light. But very shortly afterwards, we have eyewitnesses. In the one case, the woman who interviewed Donald Trump and his wife in the Mar-a-Lago residency, claiming that he inappropriately touched her, but the butler came in and said that he saw what happened and there was no inappropriate touching. And also this woman who wrote this article for People magazine, why didn't she put that in the article, which is a strong argument. If this really happened, why wouldn't you put this in the article? I mean, it would have overshadowed the puff piece, the love story that the article in People magazine was all about. That's really, again, a strong argument that this is probably not 100% accurate. The other one, you got a 72-year-old woman who says that 35 years ago, she was moved to first class, and for 15 minutes, Trump was all up and down her, touching on her. And then you had a Englishman who was also in first class on that flight, who witnessed what exactly happened, and says with the strongest, in the strongest way, that this woman was the one who was aggressive towards Trump, that she was the one who was aggressive towards Trump. And in fact, Donald Trump excused himself, went to the bathroom, and when he left, this woman said to the man, "I'm going to marry this guy." So, and you find out that both of these women, they're all for Hillary Clinton. So it's really, oh my God, it is really not only ironic, but it is really telling that that's all you got? That's all you got on Trump? It's really sad. And if you can take a step back, regardless of who you're for, and just look at the candidates from a rational, logical perspective. The media was high on Bernie Sanders, right? He was anti-establishment, right? And that's where he was getting a lot of his kudos from the media, was that he was anti-establishment, right? Trump is also anti-establishment, but he's not getting any kudos for that. he's being called all kinds of crazy names, right? Don't trust him with his finger on the trigger. But look who's had the finger on the trigger and what she has done. Talk about Libya. Talk about the failures in Libya. Why did we attack Muammar Gaddafi? He did nothing to hurt us, really, except the Lockerbie thing you could talk about. But there was like $1 billion lawsuit against Libya, and they were forced to pay some of these families. But since then, he's pretty much been relatively cool, you could have said. And stable. Libya was at least stable, and there was no ISIS there. The same thing with Iraq. I mean, the policy in Iraq. And, the country had been stabilized, and then they pull out all the troops and were unable to get a status of forces agreement. Former Mayor Rudy Giuliani said that, look, if he was Secretary of State, he would have gotten a status of forces agreement. And, of course, listen, you're the United States. At the time, there was like 30 or 40,000 troops in the country, basically propping up the government. Without a shadow of doubt, a good negotiator would have said, listen, Malaki, whatever his name is, you are going to sign the status of forces agreement. We're going to stay in the country for a few more years, but the status of forces, or SOFA agreement as it's known, is designed to protect the American troops in case there's any altercations or issues. It gives them a little bit of protection from, let's say, Iraqi law or improper accusations against troops, right? And they would have gotten it. They definitely would have gotten it. And anyhow, once we left, ISIS reared its ugly head and took over most of the country. Complete failure. Syria, the red line. Well, why are we even in Syria in the first place? Why even mess with Syria? Assad had done nothing against the United States that I'm aware of. Now, you could argue that he is a thorn in the side of Israel because he does support Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, which is against Israel. And it's these Hezbollah fighters that forced Israel to pull out of southern Lebanon when they had sort of a occupation force in part of southern Lebanon. They continually harassed them over the years, and Israel was forced to pull out. Now, my understanding is that Syria is willing to make peace with Israel if Israel will give back the Golan Heights. And Israel refuses to do this. But Syria has done nothing against the United States that I'm aware of. Can you point out something that Syria has done to harm or otherwise negatively affect the United States? Nothing. So why were we supporting the rebels there? Why Assad must go? Why? And even further, Egypt. This Mubarak guy, you could say he was a bad guy. He was a quote-unquote brutal dictator, but the country was relatively safe. The country was relatively peaceful. It was a effing shithole. I've been there. I went to see the pyramids. I checked that off the bucket list, but I can tell you this, it's not even worth going. It's just a freaking shithole, the whole country. I'm sorry. My Egyptian friends out there or people, I don't have any friends in Egypt, but I mean, it's not worth going to see the pyramids. That I can tell you. It's just not worth it. And you can see why. I have a video on expat stories from around the world. 2 stories. My own story from 2008, but also another story from a woman that I met from the early 1960s. Basically, nothing has changed. I mean, it's unfortunate, but almost nothing has changed there in Egypt. And why did we kick him out? So that the Muslim Brotherhood could come take power, and then they basically were forced out by the military when the Muslim Brotherhood tried to assert itself and create an Islamic State. Now, ask yourself this question. Why would Hillary Clinton and Obama support the Muslim Brotherhood? It really makes you wonder when you consider everything holistically, including Obama's so-called apologies tour in the Middle East. Where are his sympathies, really? You want to argue he's not a Muslim, he's not really a Muslim, he's a Christian, whatever, but it's very apparent from his actions that he is sympathetic to Muslim causes, because he can't even utter the words radical Islamic terrorism, which is what we've been facing since actually 1979, when the Iranians took over the U.S. Embassy. But if you want to discount that and call it since 9/11, certainly since 9/11, or even before 9/11, the first attack on the World Trade Center, 1992, before that, the attack on the USS Cole, before that, the attack on the two embassies, the American embassies in Africa. I mean, come on. This is not something that just popped up yesterday. This has been going on for years. So the policies of Hillary Clinton, that the things that she's supported, and this, not even Hillary Clinton, but the establishment class, the so-called ruling class, the establishment, has really been a failure. It's been an utter failure. And who are we fighting these wars for? You know, I didn't accept the argument that these were wars for Israel pushed by the so-called neocons. But when you take a moment to rationally think about it, there is some truth to that. That's what it appears to be. It certainly wasn't blood for oil. We didn't take any of the oil. It was just to destabilize these countries. And who does it help? It certainly didn't help us. It certainly hasn't helped Western Europe. The United States has taken in 1.5 million Muslims since 9/11. Why would you take in enemy combatants or potentially enemy combatants, right? Why would you do that? So we can see even the second generations, people born in the United States from these refugees, have committed have committed terrorism in the United States. It doesn't mean that all of them are bad, but it means that there is enough sympathy in that community to allow this to continue, allow this to go on. Trump, on the other hand, is an insurgent candidate. He is a populist. He is anti-establishment. That is for sure. But look at the arguments against him. The only arguments are he's not really as rich as he says he is. Really? That's an argument? That's an argument you want to make? And then you say he didn't pay taxes for whatever, a number of years. But if he's not as rich as you say he is, why would he pay taxes that he doesn't owe? No one has accused him of tax evasion. They've only said that they claim that he has not paid federal tax, income tax. And on that point, I just want to make one point. You know, anybody who has a small business has filed a Schedule C, or anyone who has a business and maybe a LLC or a corporation, whether it be a C Corp or an S Corp, knows the game. The tax code is a game. You have expenses, you have income, you subtract the expenses from your income, you have depreciation, you subtract that from your income, and you get your taxable income. And any tax advisor will tell you you do everything you can to maximize your deductions. That is the law. That is the tax law. And in fact, the Supreme Court has ruled that U.S. citizens and corporations are entitled to take every legal action to reduce their taxable income. If Trump had what appears to be almost $1 billion tax loss, and he carries that forward, that is completely legal. So what's the problem, right? So on the one hand, you're saying he's not as rich as he says he is. On the other hand, you're saying that a poor man should be paying taxes that he doesn't owe. I mean, that's just a bogus argument. The whole woman thing, inappropriate touching, really has been shown to be factually inaccurate and not really relevant. When Bill Clinton ran, there was many allegations against him. The media refused to cover these allegations. He still won twice. But he was, of course, impeached. He did, of course, because he was lying, lost his law license, ability to practice law. Do people know this? Do people remember this? And they said it was just sex. No one is accusing Donald Trump of rape or just sex. They're saying that these women have come out to say that he inappropriately touched them. But again, the facts have shown that this is probably not true or is an exaggeration. So I think if we look at these issues, you have an insurgent candidate who wants to break up the status quo, make changes in a positive way, make America great again. Supposedly 80 million people watched the second debate. 80 million people. That really shows there's a lot of engagement in this political process. Those are like record-setting numbers. In 2 days, Wednesday, the 19th, we'll have the third and final debate in this campaign. I hope you'll have a chance to watch it either live or I'm going to try to watch it live. It's going to be, I think, 3 in the morning, my time. I'm 6 hours ahead. I'll try to watch it live. If I can't, then when I do wake up, I'll definitely watch a rerun or a recording of it and give you my comments on the third and final debate. I'm Holy Joe Rock and welcome at you live and unscripted. Stay focused. Stay alert. Filter out the bullshit and make it happen for the captain because you're the captain.
Thank you for watching In.The.News, a feature of HJRR TV and presented by the Reverend Dr. Holy Joe Rock and Roll. Please rate us, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to this channel for more In.The.News.